Hi, I'm Steven. That's John. We're from Just Got Played, and today we're doing a preview of Cities of Venus from 10 Robot Games. So this is 1 to 4 players, and it's about 15 minutes per player. We have a preview copy of the game before it goes on Kickstarter. So that's what we used to play and what we're going to talk about. And also, that's what I'm going to show you now, because I'm going to go down to the table, just give you a quick overview of how the game basically flows, and then we'll come back and we'll tell you what we thought about it. Hi, before we get to the rest of the video, I just wanted to jump in here and give you some updates. So obviously this is a preview copy, and so we didn't know exactly what the final version was going to look like. In fact, it hasn't even gone to crowdfunding yet, so it could still get tweaked or changed, but I wanted to provide the latest updates that I have. So one, in the video, I'm going to say, I don't know what the final components are going to look like. And what you see in the video are the final components. So the minerals are going to be those little 3 different colors of gems, and the cool little V-Knot meeple is going to be the final meeple. Now, one of the things that we don't have in our preview copy that you won't see are these neat little dice mechs. So that will be in the final version, but we didn't have that here to include in the video. Now, we also talked about some things that would affect gameplay. So one of our comments later is that we wish there was more variety in the cards. And the final version is going to have more variety in the cards. We had a limited variety in the preview copy because obviously the preview copies need to go out before the final version is done. So I don't know what the differences are, and I don't know what those new cards are going to be, but I'm looking forward to seeing that. And hopefully there'll be more information about that during the Kickstarter campaign. Also, I just wanted to mention that we actually played a rule wrong, and that may affect the comments that you see later in the video. So there are cards in the card drop that come, the cargo drop that come, and they give you V-Knots, and they give you a lot of V-Knots, like 6 or 8 sometimes, etc. But there is a symbol on those cards saying those have to go to a specific place on your floating city. So we were just placing those anywhere we wanted to, and that maybe meant that we had a little bit of a glut of V-Knots. We just had so many V-Knots that it removed some of the interesting decisions for us about where to allocate V-Knots when we got new ones every round, naturally from the growth that you have. So anyway, those are just a few updates I wanted to say. So here we go with the rest of the video. So this is Cities of Venus. These are prototype components again. So you can get a sense of what the final production is going to be like, but there'll be some minis, and I think their little V-Knots are going to be a more interesting sculpt than that as well. And I don't know what the minerals are going to look like. But essentially there's a central board that has the cloud drop, which are the cards everybody's competing over each round. And then there's the innovation cards. And then everybody has their own floating city. And so the floating cities, they're full of these V-Knots, and you can slot cards in here to sort of upgrade. And you have your innovation station as well. And if you look at the innovation station, it actually tells you how the game is played. So there's going to be a series of rounds, and each round you're going to go through these 6 steps. So in the first phase, there's going to be 4 rounds. In the second phase, there's going to be 4 rounds. And then in the third phase, there's going to be 1 to 4 rounds, depending on where the Earth card gets shuffled into the deck. So let's just look at all of these different steps. You could do steps 1 through 5 for the most part in simultaneously, but step 6 needs to be done in player order. And the first player does rotate every round. So step 1 is the drop. I've already done that here. Basically, you take 5 cards out of this deck. So you can see these have 1 on the top because it's phase 1, but there are phase 2 and then phase 3 cards that you will eventually get to. So these are the resources that are being delivered from Earth to Venus, and they're put out here on the map. All right, so now that we've done that, we need to, number 2 is resolve events. So if you can see here, there's an event here, and there's an event here on these cards. But so normally, if we were in phase 2 or phase 3, we would resolve 2 events. But since this is phase 1, you're limited to 1 event. So I would grab an event card, I would look at it, and I would see, okay, well, this is the water section, and we're in phase 1. So I need to lose 1 V-Knot from that area, right? So I've got a V-Knot here. I just take that, and I lose it. So that is the event. If I didn't have anybody in that section, I would have to lose 2 total VNaughts from other places, including if I had any on this station. All right, so the next one is drop shields. So every turn, Venus is damaging your floating city, so you need to remove a person from the shield area and put them back. And again, you've got to pay 2 people essentially if you can't, if you don't have a person in that area. So next is grow population and deploy. So if we look at this, I've got this food and this water area. So I had 4 and 4, but now I only have 3 because the event I lost 1. So you look at that and you say, all right, which of these 2 do I have the least? That's water. So that's how many I get. So I'm going to get 3 new VNaughts. And I can allocate those wherever I want, right? I could put one in mining. I don't have one there so that I'll be able to mine in the future. I can put up to 2. Anytime you're deploying people, you got people and are deploying, you can put up to 2 of them on your innovation station. And you see here, there's an 8. So as soon as that gets to an 8, you can immediately go and take one of these 4 innovation cards. You see with these light bulbs, those are the innovation cards. So for instance, let's look at one of these, this innovation card. So it says it goes in the mining area. It's worth a victory point, and 4 VNaughts can now live in this area on your floating city. And what this says is when you do mining, you get a +3. So this is in yellow because that's actually a reduction. If you look at my mining right now, it says 6 people can fit there. But anyway, if I were to eventually get 8 VNaughts and take this, I would slot this in like that. You can see now I've got my benefit, I've got my victory point showing, and now my limit is 4 instead of the 6 that it was. So some things that are green, such as this up here, they increase your limit. So actually we can just go ahead and look at that, right? See, this one actually increases your limit. Okay, so that was the grow population and deploy. And then there are, and by the way, so if multiple people were to put VNaughts on their innovation station and go for the innovation cards, there are limited, right? So like in a 3-player game, there's only 2 of each type. There are more than 4 different types of innovation cards. You randomly choose the 4. They're going to be in your game. So you're going to go in player order if there's, a concern about, well, I wanted that card, you took it before me, etc. So you use player order there if you need to. All right, so step 5 here is the city actions. And there are 3 things you can do in a city action. So one of them is you can spend 4 of the minerals, right? So again, we got the minerals here. These are all the same, and that's a 1, that's a 4, that's an 8. You can use spend 4 of those to get 1 VNaught to deploy them anywhere you want. You can also, if you had a card that was in your holding area, then you could then build that card into your city. And lastly, you can go mining. And the way mining works is, so you take, unfortunately, this little VNaught is going to go down to the surface and not return. They go down to the surface, and then you roll a die, a D6, and you see what the number is, and that's how many minerals that you get. In my case, so say I rolled a 2, I would actually get 5 because of this card here, if I had that card. And so there are other ways that modify that roll. And you collect minerals, and so say maybe I had 8 minerals for whatever reason. So there's 2 of those, and you just store them here in this area. So those are the city actions. You can do each one once. And then step 6 is grab cargo. So that's what I was talking about, that this needs to be done in player order because there's only 5 out there. And so you decide which one do you want to take. So for instance, this one, if I wanted to take this one, I have to pay the cost to do this, right? So this says I need to send somebody from my mechanical area. I have one dude there, right? Somebody from the power area. Again, I have one there now. And this symbol means one from anywhere. And then I also have to pay a mineral. So if I pay all of those things, I could get it now and I could just slot it in here. And what this would do is this would give me an extra point and it would raise my capacity in that area from 6 to 7. If I wanted this card but couldn't quite afford it, let's say I didn't have any minerals. So I can't afford this card, but I could still take it and I could put it in this holding area. So that's what I was talking about before. Later, if I wanted to build this card in step 5, I would pay these resources And I would have to spend somebody from the mechanical area as well. And then I would be able to slot that. There are some innovations that get slotted in that area. So for instance, this innovation goes here. If I slot there, then I can no longer store cards here because I built something in that area. This allows me to actually store some people here, and it gives me a victory point, and it allows me to use the people here. For instance, like when I lost one person to the water, I could have used a person from down here instead. And then I would have grown by 4 instead of 3. So, that's what things like this are used for. So that is step 6, grab cargo. And then any cargo that wasn't grabbed, you just shift it off here into the trash, essentially the flame area, and to prepare for the next round where you're going to do another drop of new stuff. And when the Earth card finally shows up, so Earth in phase 3, this is going to be randomly in there, the Earth card finally shows up, there'll be one less choice, and that also means that's the last round. And then at the end of the game, you're going to add up your scores. All right, so there's victory points in the cards that I showed you. You get 1 victory point for every 2 VNaughts that are in your city. It doesn't count if they're on your innovation station. You get 1 point for every 4 minerals that you have. 2 victory points for having the most VNaughts in your city, and 2 victory points for having the most minerals. So you just add that up and you see who was the winner. And that is basically how you play Cities of Venus. All right, so we're going to tell you what we liked and disliked about the game now, and I will kick it over to John to start off with, what did you like about the game?
Yeah, so I think the theme and the concept was my favorite part of the game. Essentially, everybody's running their own floating city, and the resources from Earth are about to stop. So you're trying to grab as much as you can, get what you can in place so that you are set once the resources stop coming. And then whoever does that the best is going to end up being the governor, because clearly they should be running things, they're more efficient, and they can make sure that the resources are flowing. And this is done really well. The city player boards of each player has in each of the different sections of it. And then even the thematic part of every turn you lose a shield. Just automatically, because you're in a spaceship that's flying out in the middle of nowhere. You're gonna have stuff hitting the hull and things like that. So the game feels very thematic, and I like the concept of it. Of we're all trying to scrap and fight for resources, and whoever does that best proves themselves so that they become elected.
Yeah, I mean, I would never like a space theme in a game. So yeah, I mean, I think that's sort of what sold me on this game to begin with, right? The theme, when I took a look at this game and talked to 10 Robot Games about getting a preview copy of this to so that we could play it and talk about it here before the Kickstarter even launched. That it was really the theme that grabbed it for me, and so I really liked the theme too. But I think the theme carries over onto what I like about the game the most. And you already mentioned this, like you've got this city, right? This city board, and every part of this city board is customizable, right? You can get a innovation card or just one of the cargo drop cards, and you can slot them in there, and that does something for you. Some of them give you sort of a special ability, better mining, or the shields, right? Beginning to ignore that shield thing going down. And then there's trade-offs there too, right? You definitely want to get more of the VNaughts onto your city, because they're worth a bunch of points, and you need them to do stuff as well. But some of the better cards mean you have less VNaughts in that module. And so there's some interesting decisions there. I wish they had actually taken a little bit further. I wish there was a little bit more variety in the stuff that you could slot in there. But maybe I'm a little bit more of a complex gamer than the target market for this game. I don't know. But I did enjoy building my city, right? That's what I liked the best, my floating city. That's what I liked best about the game.
Oh yeah, so that, like you said, the floating cities build upon the theme. It really makes it feel thematic and interesting, and then all the workers that are inside. It's and it's not too complex. That's the thing. Is like, I think you and I are the kind of people that would prefer a little bit more complexity in these kind of systems. But this is a game you could easily set up and teach people, and the theme is so strong in it that you could say, hey, you're trying to get as many workers as you want, and this is the mechanical bay. And when you do use people from here, this is what you're trying to achieve. So it's a very straightforward, easy teach, easy to learn, and the theme carries a lot of that teach of it. So I really like the way that works, and incorporates the theme into the player boards.
All right. So, what, if anything, did you not like about the game?
So, a lot of the game is driven by the deck of cards, the canisters that you get that are the resources from Earth. I would have liked to see more variety in that. A lot of it's very straightforward. You're upgrading this bay, you can have extra people, it's worth 1 victory point, or you can just get a bunch of extra V nuts that you can put anywhere you want on the board. I just would have liked to see a little bit more. Variability in that, especially as you get toward the end. Once you're in phase three, I think that really you should be making really big moves. And a lot of times it was kind of like you upgrade this thing and it goes from being worth 3 points to you to being worth five. And that's perfect fine. It's functional, it works. I just would have liked to have seen a little bit more of a crazy blooming system a la Space Base. The beginning of Space Base, you're getting a coin or you're getting a purchase power. That's it. By the end of it, if you roll enough 12s, you just outright win the game. You don't even do final scoring. So I was just hoping for more of a exponential ramp up as it got toward the end of the game. Whereas what it did was perfectly fine, but I just would have preferred some variety.
Yeah, and I think that sort of dovetails with my experience about what I didn't like with the game, which is that it felt like it was a little too long, right? So you're going to get 4 turns, I think it is, right in phase one, and let me just say right off the bat, they're tweaking this right now. So this may change. What I'm saying right now may not actually be the final product or even what you see on Kickstarter. But as it is when we played it, you get 4 turns in phase one, you get 4 turns in phase two, and you get 1 to 4 turns in phase three. And if you get all 4 of the turns in phase three, like our first play, the Earth card is all the way at the back. Right. So we went through all the whole deck that was, available in the setup. And so it was too many turns. I mean, when towards the end, it was just like, well, I don't want any of these cards to slot because I've already got the cards that I want. And I don't really need people. I got plenty of people, I liked early on, there was a tension like, should I put people in this module or this module so that I can spend them to get that card that I see that's out there in the drop or whatever. But then in the later rounds, it was just like, I just got so many people. I didn't care. Right. I didn't have to think about where I'm allocating the people. I was just more like, where can I fit them? Because
Yeah.
we had so many people. So, particularly with those cards that give me 8 people or whatever from the cargo drop. So, for me, it felt like maybe it could have ended at the end of phase two, right?
Mhm.
I'm not sure I needed the any of the phase three. So that was probably the one thing that I would say about the game. It either needed some more complexity to add or variety to add with what we saw in phase three, or it should have ended earlier. So yeah, those are kind of kind of my thoughts on it, and it basically dovetails with what you were saying, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that makes this ripe for an expansion. Add a little bit of complexity with this, maybe make it speed up for the turns, especially like in a 5-player game, maybe chop a few turns off the end so that there's a more compelling game arc in there, and just add some stuff to it. And I really think that an expansion could take it to that next level, and it wouldn't really be hard to expand because they get a lot of mechanics in here, a lot of interesting mechanics working together to create this game system, and there's a lot of different ways you could branch that out. So I would like to see another box of this game, expansion with different ideas of what to do with those systems.
Yeah, well, who knows what they've got under wraps for the Kickstarter? I think we have this copy that we only played at 3 players actually, but it goes to 4. I think there's going to be availability for it to go all the way to 6 with one of the options.
Mhm.
So and then stretch goals and everything. You never know with crowdfunding what they've got there. But as far as what we played, only 3 players. And boy, man, we went through a lot of VNOTs with just 3 players. I have to say, a lot of these little astronaut people things, it
I
was,
think I ended up with 56 and you ended up with 51. We had a lot of E-nuts.
yeah, we had a pretty big population there. Very, very proud of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, in fact, I'm moving to Venus right now.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing.
You can be governor in no time.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. That is our quick, thoughts on what we liked and disliked based on this preview. Again, that was only prototype components that we were looking at, and we were playing with, up-to-date versions of the rules, but I'm sure it's going to be tweaked and changed before they settle on the final version of the game. But based on what we've seen. If this interests you, check out the Kickstarter. When the Kickstarter is running, I'll put a link to it in this video. But until the next time, I'm Steven. That's John. We're from Just Got Played. Come talk to us on our Discord if you want. If you look at the description of the video, I'm going to have a link to our Discord channel. You could talk to us there or just leave a comment in this YouTube video. That's fine as well. But, thanks to 10 Robot Games for sending us this pre-production version to review or preview anyway. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.